Some of you guys might remember, a couple years ago I was interested in creating a video about the Paper Mario glitch, Badge Duplication. This proved to be far too adventurous of an idea in practice because I was not prepared for the workload going into the project. No one had actually gone through the theoretical setup before, and it's incredibly difficult to wrap your head around. There were so many unexpected kinks to work out, and since then, I've been hesitant to give it another shot. But fast forward to 2019, and I finally found the motivation and time to do this. This video will be structured into 9 parts to keep all this information streamlined for recording and editing, and to help anyone watching better understand the process. Over the last decade, the Paper Mario community has discovered a beautiful array of glitches, and Badge Duplication might just be the culmination of that effort. Setting it up takes over half a day, and I really want to emphasize how much planning goes into this glitch. There were almost 5 gigabytes of Paper Mario saves on my computer, a terabyte of raw video footage, and that only came after spending a couple hundred hours between routing an efficient duplication setup, testing byproducts of this glitch, writing a hopefully easy to understand script for this, and documenting all the little intricacies behind the scenes. Part of the reason for all that is Badge Duplication itself is a massive commitment, basically requiring us to start from a fresh new file. And to help tackle commentary on this beast, I've also invited Shesez, Chuggaaconroy, and Kungfufruitcup. So let's start out with a brief overview of Paper Mario's menu system.
Part 1. The Item System and Badge System. Paper Mario is a turn-based RPG with finite inventory space. Mario can only carry 10 consumable items at once, interacting with them using a pop-up item menu. Do you want to hold on to a few recovery items that you can use almost anywhere, or do you prefer one-time use attacks that pierce enemy defenses? Perhaps life insurance in the form of a life shroom is most important for the next boss battle. This framework implies the developers wanted to reward creative planning, but still, the item system strategically pales in comparison to the game's intuitive badge system. 80 unique badges are found throughout Paper Mario. Each collected badge is accessible within the pause menu, stored separately from items. These grant a passive benefit, or a new battle ability when equipped. You can only equip badges so long as you have enough badge points available. Mario starts with 3 badge points at level 1, but with level ups, we can reach a maximum of 30. Some badges cost 0 points, resulting in simple changes like sound effects. Other badges can require up to 7 points, like Lucky Day, for example, which causes a 19.8% chance of an enemy potentially missing their attack. Of the 80 badges, a few of them are repeats with stackable effects, such as Power Plus. It increases Mario's attack power by 1 for 6 badge points. This particular iteration of Power Plus has its very own assigned identification number in the game's memory. You can later obtain another Power Plus badge, which appears identical, but has a different ID in memory. Equipping both Power Pluses will increase Mario's attack power by 2, assuming you have enough badge points at your disposal. There's a third unique Power Plus, but this remains unimplemented in the final game, exclusively acquired by hacking. The way these 3 distinguishable Power Plus badges function should not be confused with badges that we will later duplicate, since duplication refers to the exact same badge with the exact same ID. And we'll explore the various impacts of badge duplication once we discuss how it can be performed. Part 2. The Key Item System and Mail Delivery System. A prerequisite to duplicating badges is duplicating key items. Unlike normal items that restore Mario's status or attack enemies, these are unique and stored independently. Key items usually satisfy the quest turn-in role, helping progress story or complete side quests, like delivering mail. For the purpose of duplicating badges, we specifically need to clone an early game key item, a letter found on the overworld in Mount Rugged. Speaking of Mount Rugged, that's where we meet Parakarry. He's an irresponsible postman with a bad habit of losing mail. Parakarry further neglects his responsibilities by joining Mario after we recover 3 of his misplaced letters scattered around the region. Adding him to our party unlocks the ability to deliver those letters to various characters, and Parakarry must be the active partner to initiate the sequence. Turning in mail earns us collectible star pieces we can exchange for badges. There is an important exception to this case though, the letter to Goompapa in Goomba Village. Instead of giving us a star piece, Goompapa throws more work on our shoulders, asking us to deliver a letter to his friend. And his friend asks us to deliver a letter to another friend, and so on. This becomes a huge chain of events that cannot be completed until Chapter 7, practically at the end of the game. After many deliveries, it all comes full circle. We end up handing a final letter to Goompapa. And the reward for your troubles? The game's only Lucky Day badge.
This had Glitch Hunters Rob Dog and Bone Crusher thinking, what if we could duplicate one of those chain letters leading to Goompapa? Would we be able to generate infinite Lucky Day badges? After they theorized a possible method, Bone Crusher hacked the game and proved the concept of badge duplication on the Japanese version a few years ago. But I don't think it was ever fully documented, and it was also thought to be pretty much improbable on the US version. Paper Mario was first launched in Japan, making that the buggiest release. Think of it like the first official version of a game with no patches. There's a pretty simple method of duplicating standard items on the Japanese version only, and that makes satisfying some requisites of badge duplication slightly more forgiving. With no such glitch on the US version, duplicating badges is even more convoluted and linear. Understanding how the game handles an unexpectedly high number of key items and badges in your inventory played a major role in structuring a route.
Part 3. Key Item and Badge Duplication. Before duplicating badges becomes a challenge, we need to be holding 32 key items. And you might be wondering, what's so important about 32 key items? The Paper Mario instruction manual falsely claims you can carry an unlimited number of key items, and you cannot throw them away. Turns out, there is a limit at 32. And you can throw them away with glitches. In fairness, this is not something a casual player would ever encounter. Let's say you abuse glitches to skip using otherwise required key items to save up 32 of them. What starts happening to the additional key items we collect? We briefly mentioned that key items are found in the pause menu, separate from regular items. The regular item menu can be accessed almost anywhere, no pausing necessary. And because of this, far more importantly for glitch purposes, there are choices that you can do with normal items that we can exploit, such as tossing them out, eating them, storing them at shops, or selling them. That becomes substantial because collecting key items without storage space does not place it in our key item inventory. The result is dependent on the circumstances in which we acquire them. When a 33rd key item is given to Mario through a cutscene or a treasure chest, it will cease to exist. If encountered on the overworld, it instead malfunctions into behaving like a normal item, prompting us that we have too many and must throw one away, even if we have normal item slots available. This makes it possible to duplicate overworld key items. We'll touch on that later, since we're going to duplicate a badge through similar methods. Like the 32 key item cap, there's a badge cap at 128 spots. Therefore, 128 badges must be held before duplicating any overworld badges is possible. But as discussed previously, there aren't enough badges in-game to satisfy the condition. And the single, infinitely accessible badge we know of, Lucky Day, comes from the letter chain side quest.
In case the point was glossed over, only items and badges located on the field are qualified duplication candidates. The fact we cannot duplicate any key items from cutscenes is of the utmost importance for understanding the second half of this video. And since every letter issued during the delivery chain is handed to us through a sort of informal cinematic, that makes them impossible options for duplication. This restricts us to utilizing only the initial letter to Goompapa found in Mount Rugged. Of course, the most unfavorable letter possible. That merely begins the time-consuming delivery chain. Our goals are duplicating that distinct letter, accumulating 32 key items required to duplicate it, and sacrificing it to get Parakarry. So we pretty much need to have the maximum number of key items before Parakarry joins us. Due to a few badge duplication limitations, this is where it becomes more complicated. To reiterate, the major obstacles are: number 1, the letter to Goompapa needs to be on the field to duplicate it. It will no longer exist there if collected. Number 2, Parakarry hangs around at the beginning of Chapter 2 only. That's long before we could possibly obtain 32 key items. 3, the letter to Goompapa needs to be collected during Chapter 2, and therefore removed from the field in order to befriend Parakarry. Keep in mind, partnering with Parakarry is eventually necessary to deliver our duplicated letters. And 4, item function is almost entirely dictated by the inventory it currently occupies. A letter and key item inventory can be delivered, but that same exact letter transferred to regular item inventory is not deliverable unless we transfer it back. Consider the fact that transferring items between inventories was never intended. All those cases cannot be satisfied without an elaborate succession of sequence breaking. With the help of a few storyline manipulating glitches, it's usually not too much trouble to reach that 32 key item cap. But early game story progression is well programmed for Paper Mario standards. One pre-Chapter 2 sequence break can currently be exploited: Retrigger Prologue, which ironically and conveniently takes advantage of key item duplication itself. That is a lot of information to absorb. Hopefully it'll start making more sense as we follow the route. Almost everything we do and the order we do it in is intentional, so let's start a new game.
Part 4, 32 key items without Parakarry. Our first step is collecting key items to reach that magical number of 32. It is imperative that we do not interact with the earliest available key item in the game, the dolly from this tree. We will need that around later to properly retrigger the prologue. Anyway, we progress through the rest of the prologue normally and obtain the lucky star. Toward the middle of Chapter 1, we acquire keys from within the Koopa Bros fortress, but need to recruit Bombette and avoid using those keys. One solution is the fortress staircase skip combined with log skip. It's not worth detailing these minor tricks since that would only add to the confusion. Just be aware that staircase skip allows us to reach Bombette while bypassing all these locked doors. With 2 fortress keys in hand, return to Toad Town and perform log skip, skipping the need to complete Chapter 1. Log skip is surprisingly challenging for how it looks and hard to follow, so don't be a stranger to the video description to get more information. Because of course Stryder has made a video about this. From here, before beginning Chapter 2, talk to this Bubulb for the first magical seed and enter Mount Rugged to find 2 of Parakarry's lost letters. Specifically, it needs to be the letters to Merlin in Colorado, not the letter to Goompapa in Buzzar's area. That letter must remain on the field for a future duplication. If it's unintentionally touched, that's a game ender. All the anguish of crashing Paper Mario, without the fun of saying that it crashes Paper Mario. Do not deliver 2 letters to Parakarry now either. Now we need to execute a glitch known as Parakarryless Seed. This is also addressed in the description, but the point is, we can speak to another Bubulb and obtain the second magical seed without needing Parakarry's help. Leave this area entirely, head all the way back to Koopa Village, and take on a few errands for Koopacoot. I know. First, obtain the silver credit by providing a sleepy sheep, and second, begin the quest for the tape. Back in Toad Town, defeat Chan at the dojo for the first degree card, and also grab the odd key which can be reached from outside by using the reverse hammer trick. Then comes one of the most well-known Paper Mario sequence breaks of all, and one that I desperately wish I knew when I was a kid. Successfully execute the Blue House skip, and use our early access to West Toad Town tunnels to challenge Blooper. Make quick work of him, and enter Chapter 5 through the pipe that spawns. After talking to Colorado for no reason other than updating our story progress, this is where we can get sushi. Make sure to grab the letter on the beach, and don't forget to save the red Yoshi kid since he's part of the mail delivery chain. The other baby Yoshis can starve in the jungle though, it's fine. Use the newly gained sushi to reach Chapter 3 via the sewers. Head inside of Boo's mansion to obtain the record, and simply exploit the record skip method of opening the chest. This will circumvent losing it in the process of gaining the weight. Complete the mansion up to the super boots and spin jump to break the panel above the library. You're supposed to use Parakarry to get the Boo portrait, but a near pixel-perfect shell toss from Cooper does the trick just fine. Another glitch is ideal to ignore placing the Boo portrait within the painting, known as Bow Skip. It involves a series of frame-perfect jumps in order to bypass the gate to Gusty Gulch. Once we've gotten there, Bo becomes the active party member for a cutscene, but should not be switched for a different partner when back in normal gameplay because she is not yet truly unlocked. We end up planning around a few partner swaps in order to get around this later. Pick up the letter to Feisty hiding behind a fallen tree, and you can disregard the need for Parakarry with a precise jump along this ledge. Go into Tubba Blubba's castle and grab a castle key from this treasure chest. We're doing great with 15 key items at this point, almost halfway there. It's worth advancing the story position into Chapter 5 again, making things convenient when exploring Chapter 4. Bo is opportunistic, so Yoshi Village should be accessed using the Blue House skip again. Interact with Colorado on the island, and this will correspondingly set story progress to Chapter 5. You can take the whale back to Toad Town once Colorado is done showing off the volcano entrance. Enter Shy Guy's toy box, which is now in a completed state thanks to the Chapter 5 pit stop. Starting at Green Station, use Bo's invisibility to get the mystery note from the yellow Shy Guy. Take the train to Pink Station, and grab the cookbook, mailbag, and frying pan, followed by a trip to Blue Station for the storeroom key and calculator, all within that order. Then quickly stop by Forever Forest to get the third magical seed. Detouring back to Chapter 5 within this detour to Chapter 4 lets us continue the Yoshi skip glitch to reach Raphael Raven early. After a bit of dialogue, he'll give us the Ultra Stone. In the volcano, we manipulate a swim on land glitch by initiating a partner ability swap into a loading zone. Save block storage provides the possibility to ride sushi here through water. The catch is, in the US version, we must input a precise dive in a following room where the spiky ball appears, otherwise the game will soft lock. Avoiding that ultimately allows us to complete the chapter without Parakarry. Head into Jade Jungle for the Volcano Vase and hit a tree to reveal another letter. That makes 24 items in total. Go ahead and trade the Volcano Vase to Colorado for the last magical seed, since that'll be more beneficial later on and we're not losing any key items by doing it. The bad news is, we're going to need to pull off the Volcano Sushi glitch to finish Chapter 5 again. This time in a post-Chapter 5 state, resulting in the assumed completion of Chapter 6. Exit Flower Fields and have Merlin's ninja friend unlock the frozen door. After a perfectly timed spin jump series to access the Shiver Sewers, progress into Chapter 7 and use the Bombette NPC glitch to meet Herringway. This way, the warehouse key in the lake can be collected permanently. Journey through the Shiver Snowfield until you have the scarf, bucket, and both letters. You can clip into the dock while mounting sushi to swim on land again and dive under this invisible wall to reach Shiver Mountain. From here, cancel the sushi glitch by switching partners in a battle. Get the Starstone from Madame Merlar, leave Chapter 7, return to Goomba Village, and finally speak with Goompa to get the tape. Congratulations! Step 1 is complete! Now that we have the titular 32 key items, if we encounter a new one on the field, it will instead end up as a regular item in our inventory. Key items in our normal inventory will not appear in battle, but you could choose to eat, toss, sell, or store them outside of battle. These items don't have an initialized selling price, meaning that they default to 0-1 at shops. That 0 is actually a placeholder for a negative sign, so unless you're already at 0 coins when you sell a key item, you are paying them 1 coin to take it. Newly obtained key items prompt us to throw something away regardless of storage space that's remaining. If you have at least one other key item and an extra slot available in your normal item inventory, items can be repeatedly duplicated upon tossing them. Recollect it, and you'll have a clone of the same object. This can be abused in many different ways, like transferring unlimited number of key items back into the key item inventory, trading them for an unlimited number of star pieces. And while we did say that you need to leave Goombaria's dolly in the tree for Retrigger Prologue, You could kill all this progress by forcing the dolly into your standard inventory. You know, for those of you edgy enough to eat that dolly right in front of Goombaria's face. And doing so after saying you won't give it back to her.
Part 5. Retrigger Prologue. Like most assets designed for cutscenes, the mini-boss Junior Troopa is stored out of bounds 1,000 units below the center of the room. So if we touch him, a battle from the game's prologue would begin. Fighting Junior Troopa here is a storyline trigger, meaning this will update our sequence position accordingly to the beginning of the game. Due to the way that Paper Mario handles out-of-bounds behavior, it's very difficult to reach Junior Troopa under the map, so we'll have to get creative. The answer lies within our blue-shelled friend, Kooper. Note Kooper's shell toss. It's not really all that eventful. Mario kicks his shell and it functions as a ranged attack on nearby enemies. But it also has a strange glitchy side effect. Check out what shell toss looks like after we input a tornado jump 1 frame too late. Mario accelerates higher than normal. This is because the mistimed tornado jump's intended velocity is, for some reason, carried over to the next Kooper ability. An extreme version of this is possible after falling out of bounds, since Mario's previous momentum is stored and applied to the shell toss. This is a Kooper Super Jump, which works on the US and Japanese releases of the game. Not so sure about the Chinese IQ version, but the PAL version of Paper Mario patched this property of Kooper's shell toss, and because of that, it doesn't have a known Retrigger Prologue or Badge Duplication setup. Save your progress here before trying the Retrigger Prologue. Starting from a nearby room, we need to perform a 14 times frame-perfect loading zone storage to skew Mario's angle entering Junior Troopa's playground, enough to fall out of bounds. For the time being, our height must remain unchanged since Mario's previous y-axis velocity needs to overwrite the upcoming shell toss speed. Even jumping will cancel the stored Kooper Super Jump. We now have the unexpectedly daunting task of transporting a thrown item on top of the save block. The block is conveniently placed in the room's origin, directly above Junior Troopa. This is the most frustrating part of the glitch since the direction Mario tosses items is luck dependent. Touching the dolly also ensures that we're locked into this attempt, because the game already flagged the dolly as collected. Without luck on your side, the dolly can end up in the foreground compared to the save block. That will likely involve restarting the game and retrying Retrigger Prologue all over again, since Mario never seems to throw items toward the background, and it can only be attempted once per save file. Last but not least, we need a key item in our inventory to assist in duplication later, so we need to keep the dolly and sacrifice a regular item for the final toss onto the save block. If you're lucky to get your item of choice on top of the save block, standing below it and using Kooper will launch us into the air while collecting it. That's when the Kooper Super Jump comes into play, but this one has a particular twist. The acquisition box preserves our momentum, allowing us to gain much more height than expected. After waiting around 10 seconds, the prompt can be safely closed. Mario will begin descending rapidly, clipping straight through the ground and striking Junior Troopa out of bounds. Intriguingly, if any normal items were in this room, Retrigger Prologue would be possible without those 32 key items necessary to toss the dolly. But we were not quite that lucky with the room's layout. This is such a creative setup. Huge credits go to Rob Dog and Bone Crusher for the find. Following the Junior Troopa fight, it may not look like much happened, but we just time traveled backwards and we need to return to the Goomba village. Make sure you have Goombario or Sushi active though. They're the only party members that work properly on console during the room transition, which is likely because Goomba was the single follower programmed to function intentionally here. Bombette only works by switching to her right before opening the gate, but the other party members crash or softlock the game. In fact, that might differ as well depending on which version of Paper Mario you run. That's why we kept things fairly minimalistic with Goombario. The cutscene where we first obtain Goombario will begin, and our active party member will assume the role of Goomba, which means Goombario meets his grandson, Goombario. You'll notice some of the animations are glitchy, and we receive a second power jump badge. Now that the game state is reset to Prologue, Step 2 is complete, and it's time to find the Goompapa letter on Mount Rugged, all over again.
Part 6. Duplication Setup. Make your way to Toad Town, and don't forget, log skip can be done to bypass Chapter 1. When we eventually encounter the letter to Goompapa with 32 key items, we should have plenty of regular inventory slots, leaving only the dolly in there. You need at least one item anyway. Otherwise, the key item overflow glitch will force us to discard our only item. In this case, it'd be the single item we need, and would end up disappearing forever. Once Goompapa's letter is in our regular item inventory, we have to create a key item copy. This is something we need to do before handing the 3 Mount Rugged letters to Parakarry. With 33 key items, one of which makes up our inventory, it will prompt us to throw something away, even though our standard inventory has plenty of space remaining. By tossing a held key item we intend to clone, the game generates one to throw and simultaneously fails to remove it from the inventory, effectively duplicating it. The only other catch is ensuring we don't throw away the exact same item being collected. This can be repeated until all 10 inventory slots are filled, but in keeping everything streamlined for clarity, we only need 2 Goompapa letters right this second. Also, be sure to keep a dolly around to assist in the duplication process later. It's time to part with a real key item in order to make room for Goompapa's letter in our key item inventory. It's recommended to free up a slot by unlocking one Koopa Bros Fortress store with a fortress key. To transfer the letter into our key item list, we fill our inventory up with normal items. Collect yet another item on the field, and toss the key item we want to transport. At that point, simply reclaim it now that there's key item storage space. If one of your 32 key items is a letter to Goompapa, and you still have the dolly and a Goompapa letter in the item menu, you're all set to obtain Parakarry.
Part 7. Obtaining Parakarry. Recruiting our favorite postman is important, but we have been neglecting the system of checking items with shopkeepers. Shops have 32 storage slots available for regular items, which can be accessed using any shop in the game. We'll need to take advantage of this network to hasten the delivery chain. That means we have a lot more duplication to do, but we don't have infinite key items lying around the overworld that can assist with the process. However, we do have a couple of consumable items that respawn each time you enter a room, such as lemons, limes, goom nuts, Koopa leaves, eggs, strange leaves, stinky herbs, berries, and iced potatoes. At this point in the game, the safest and fastest option is a bunch of Koopa leaves. We definitely wouldn't want to go somewhere late game and accidentally progress the story beyond Parakarry's stroll on Mount Rugged, so fill up your inventory with Koopa leaves. By the 9th Koopa leaf, you'll be prompted to toss something. This is where the duplication process begins anew, without needing another limited key item on the field. So toss the key item you were not planning to duplicate and quickly consume the leaves. Now make sure you don't eat the letter to Goompapa or Dolly by accident. If the key item we just threw on field starts flashing, recollect it to refresh its despawn timer. Miss your chance and the key item disappears. All items should be consumed until the last 2 items are the key items used for duplicating, with the too many items prompt still up. Now you can continuously repeat the key items duplication process over and over until the inventory is full. By the way, the dolly can be replaced with an extra letter to Goompapa at this point. Not counting the dolly and existing letter, we can check 8 letters to Goompapa at a time. This whole item acquisition, consumption, duplication, and storage phase needs to be done 5 times to create 40 letters. Go ahead and exchange the dolly for a letter in the shop storage too.
So let's recap. We still have 32 key items in our key item inventory at this point. A few of these are stagnant items and cannot ever be removed from this inventory, but many of these can be delivered or used, one of which is a letter to Goompapa, and that's the same letter we're going to show to Parakarry. We also have 42 key items allocated to normal item inventories. 10 of those 42 are letters to Goompapa, and that caps out our immediate storage on Mario. The other 32 of those 42 are key items that cap out the shop storage system. Now 30 of those are letters to Goompapa that we are going to eventually deliver, and the other 2 key items are just on reserve for future duplication. One of those 2 is a letter to Goompapa, which is the one we want to clone, and the other one is the dolly, and that's just because we need 2 key items to successfully duplicate the letter to Goompapa. Alright, let's get back into it.
If we use our actual key items until we have 13 left in the key item storage, that gives us the ability to fill up our remaining key items inventory with letters to Kungfufruitcup, ideally 8 to 10 at a time. But first, 3 letters need to be shown to Parakarry so he finally joins us as a partner. It's worth mentioning that we retain those 3 letters as key items after giving them to Parakarry. The reason is, he wants our help delivering them. But the most important detail is we still have letters to Kungfufruitcup in shop storage and the regular item menu. Everything that we've done up to this point has been to keep Kungfufruitcup letters in our normal inventory following that one seemingly simple interaction with Parakarry.
Part 8. Waves of 20. We seek to complete the entire mail delivery chain from start to finish in waves of 20 letters to be as efficient as possible while considering the stipulations for the next round of duplication. So with the exception of Kungfufruitcup's letter already in our key item inventory, 19 other key items should now be used or delivered. We also need to progress the game story forward to Chapter 7, carefully keeping our inventory in its necessary state. For starters, let's go to Chapter 3 and place the record, and also give the letter to Igor and Boo's mansion. Head back to Toad Town, unlock the storeroom in Harry's shop, and unlock the blue house with the odd key. Give the frying pan to Taste Tea, a letter to Feist Tea, the calculator to Ralph, the stolen mailbag to the post office, a letter to Merlin, the mystery note and another letter to Rusty, and yet another letter to Merlot and Shooting Star Summit. Before we plant all 4 magical seeds at the garden to begin Chapter 6 early, you may want to get a hammer upgrade from Chapter 2 or Chapter 5, since this gives access to the shortcut pipes and Toad Town tunnels and will cut the amount of time spent between delivering future letters drastically. By the way, the super and ultra hammers are not key items, so don't worry about that conflicting with our goal. Once all 4 magical seeds are planted, refresh the room and deliver a letter to Colorado. Complete Chapter 6 or sequence break into Chapter 7, use the warehouse key in Shiver City, and give a letter to Mayor Penguin. These steps provide enough free slots for our target total of 19. One of the 13 currently occupied key item slots is a Kungfufruitcup letter, and we will soon be transferring in 19 more Kungfufruitcup letters from shop storage for our first mail delivery chain of 20. This would be a good time to start collecting any missed badges that could speed the whole process up. Keep in mind we need to max out at 128 badges, and you can naturally achieve 80. We could go and collect most of the badges already in-game to minimize the repetition involved with mail delivery. But after obtaining 55 badges ideal for expanding our collection, which by the way includes our duplicate power jump, you begin limiting the badges that can eventually be duplicated. Here's a list of the recommended badge collection preceding the delivery chain, also found linked in the video description. You want at least 48 of these to reach 128 badges, since 20 lucky days multiplied by 4 complete letter chains will add the other 80. With all that out of the way, we need to get more regular items on the field to toss out and retrieve our duplicated letters, since recollecting key items will now again correctly place them into our key item inventory. And since we are triggered into Chapter 7 now, I suppose we have the freedom to do this with different scenery. Once done, empty all the new items from your inventory, retrieve as many more duplicated letters from storage as your key item menu will allow, and repeat the key item transfer. This leaves us, eventually, with the maximum of 32 key items, 20 of which are letters to Kungfufruitcup. We should also still have 22 key items in the shop, consisting of 20 additional letters for the next chain, and 1 letter that we can continue to duplicate, and that dolly nice enough to assist in all future duplication endeavors. If everything checks out, complete the delivery chain for the first 20 Lucky Day badges. Believe me, this will take time. Look how long it takes to deliver 20 letters to one person, even sped up. If that wasn't too much for you, don't worry, because we're handing those 20 letters to Kungfufruitcup, then 20 to Must Tea, 20 to Coover, 20 to Fishmail, Coover again, Mr. E, Miss T, Little Mouser, Frankie, Dainty, the Red Yoshi Kid with a surprising lack of friends, Dainty again, Frosty, and 20 final letters to Goompapa for 20 Lucky Day badges. One full cycle of 20 took me approximately 65 minutes to complete, and that was when trying to play optimally. Now we are back to 12 key items. Clear any item menu space you might have, pull out 10 of the duplicated letters from the shop, and use field items to transport them back into key item inventory. Do this transfer with the next wave of 10 letters to reach 32 key items, leaving only one letter to Goompapa and the dolly and shop storage. You might have a second backup Goompapa letter if you were following this route verbatim. Not a bad thing to keep around in case you mess something up, like I did. Now free up 2 regular item slots to reclaim those 2 key items intended for duplication. Time to set all that inventory back up. I chose to consume lemons and limes to duplicate Goompapa letters in sets of 8 a total of 5 times, resulting in 40 letters for delivery when combining shop and regular item storage. Complete the delivery chain once again, earning another 20 Lucky Day badges. Repeat the mail delivery chain and inventory micromanagement as necessary. It takes 3 to 7 cycles depending on how many badges you had before starting this step. The good news is, assuming you had at least 48 badges in this playthrough before we started doing this, you will not need to duplicate any more letters beyond that second chain. After delivering 1,120 chain letters total over multiple hours of horrible, tedious gameplay, we reach 128 total badges. Part 9. The effects of badge duplication. As we can see, the progress tracking chalkboard in Mario's house confirms we have 128 out of 80 badges in the game, the badge menu is full of lucky days, and Parakarry is ready to collapse. Collecting a badge on the field will now put it in our regular item inventory, functioning the same way as overflowed key items. Unlike key items though, badge items cannot be selected for consumption, but they do have a set selling price, even the ones that are never purchasable in-game. Without this glitch, it is completely impossible to sell badges in Paper Mario 64. But in the sequel, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, they added this as an additional feature of the badge system. Those details lead me to believe there was a planned badge selling system in this game, which never ended up in the final release. Either that, or every badge in Paper Mario 64 was programmed for purchase at Ralph's Badge Shop. These badge prices are unused properties, but they function perfectly fine at shops. Duplicating badges, sadly, is not quite as powerful as it sounds. Equipping a bunch of cloned badges to turn Mario into a powerhouse is not possible. For one, we are unaware of a way to transfer these badges from the regular item inventory back into the badge menu. You would somehow need to remove any of the 128 badges from Mario's collection to make space. But we still have lots of lucky days in the menu, so equipping more than one would result in a really lucky day where enemies constantly miss, right? Well, badges were expanded upon in the Thousand Year Door, which is where that dream became a reality. Unfortunately, as a result of the way badges are programmed in this game, 100 lucky days are no different than 1. Like we discussed at the beginning of this video, each badge has a specific ID, even in cases where the name and sprites are the same. If you genuinely duplicated badges like we did with Lucky Day here, equipping one would equip all of them, resulting in 0 excess badge point costs or beneficial effects. The badge-filled item menu also fails to respond to certain aspects of the game. Speak with Toad Town's chef, Taste Tea, and request for her to cook you something. When your regular item inventory is pulled up, the player chooses an ingredient. But when the menu is occupied by badges or key items, rather than asking what ingredient you want to cook with, Taste Tea will pick a placeholder item for you, named A. If you give her the cookbook, you can volunteer 2 items, so with these invalid ingredients, she'll ask if you want to cook A and A. Whether she cooks 1A or 2As, you will end up with a mistake. No badges actually get removed from your inventory in the cooking process, so I guess you can't obtain as many mistakes as you want. Yeah, really cool glitch there, Stryder. You can use glitches to manipulate the pop-up item menu for the sake of eating badges, so long as you have at least one consumable regular item around. Save block storage could be utilized to pull up the item menu while eating an item, meaning the consumed item can be selected again. Because this consumed item no longer exists, selecting it will default to the next item in the menu, which is a badge in our case. Eating that will have no effect on Mario's status, but we can see it uses a placeholder sprite of the blue present that Mayor Penguin gives to Herringway. So in case you were wondering, the badges we are capable of duplicating and selling include Attack Fex B, Attack Fex C, Close Call, D-Down Jump, any of the 3 Deep Focus badges, Dizzy Attack, Fire Shield, the Flower Saver from Flower Fields, the FP Plus from Forever Forest, the Happy Flower from Flower Fields, the Happy Heart from Jade Jungle, the Heart Point Plus from Cooper's Backyard and the Heart Point Plus in Forever Forest, Quick Change, Mega Jump, Mega Rush, Mega Smash, Power Bounce, Power Quake, Power Rush, Runaway Pay, Super Jump Charge, Spike Shield, Smash Charge, and Spin Attack. Remember, if you grabbed any of those before we reached 128 badges to save time on repeating the letter chain, they will not be available for duplication. The best-selling badge without hacking the game is Flower Saver, which gives us a nice 250 coins. Since this badge now takes up a regular item slot, we can quickly clone it the same way we did with key items. Store as many as you want, and sell them for 250 coins a pop whenever you need. Yeah, that's not really useful at this stage in the game, nor is it easy to justify spending 14 hours of gameplay on, but maybe the point was seeing just how far we could push the limits of Paper Mario. I'd like to end on a few important points I learned throughout this video's creation. Never attempt this unless you like pain. Badge duplication does not actually crash Paper Mario, and a postman's job is never done. Just want to give a huge thank you to Chuggaaconroy, Kungfufruitcup, and Shesez for helping out with the commentary. These are amazing content creators, and they made this really exciting to put together. Please give them one more moment of your time.
Thank you so much for watching and listening, everyone. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Stryder worked really hard on it. And with Paper Mario being my favorite game, I really wanted to be involved. If you want to know more about me and what I do, I'm a variety streamer, dancer, speedrunner on Twitch, and you can find the link to my Twitch channel below. Thanks so much.
Stryder, thank you so much for letting me do a little guest thing here. Folks, if you like Stryder 7X videos, you're gonna love Boundary Break. It's a lot of that learning about how the games work inside and out. But my gimmick is that I take the game's camera absolutely anywhere out of each game that I cover. So if you're interested in that, just follow the links that Stryder will provide. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stryder, for inviting me on for this video. I've watched all these Paper Mario glitch videos. I remember when the first one got all over the news sites. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of one of these. I think they're very fascinating. Paper Mario is one of my favorite games, and because he told me to plug myself here, you can find me at Chuggaaconroy on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I'm presently making videos about Phantom Hourglass, if that tickles your fancy. Not a whole lot of similarities with Paper Mario, but I don't know, maybe you like this little company called Nintendo?
It's good to be back. If you guys are still watching, I have a question for you in the comments, so give it a look, and thank you for watching, guys.